Welcome, Ross, from Oslo. This is Ross Kolby, my dear friend, who created the very last portrait of Dame Vera Lynn. Would you like to tell us about that, Ross?
Sure, that was a great pleasure, and it was thanks to you, Susan, that all happened. But in a series I'm doing called Allies, I am portraying people who were central during World War II and the events of the war. And of course, Vera Lynn was an iconic figure during the wartime. Her songs and her singing for the troops was boosting morale just at an incomparable state. I mean, she meant so much for civilians and for the military personnel. And being able to portray her in this painting where she's surrounded by elements and symbols from the wartime. We have the BBC microphone, we have the poppy, we have a white elephant symbolizing peace, and we have a forget-me-not and the white cliffs of Dover. And all these elements into the portrait makes it special, and I was very, very happy to be able to do this. And now the portrait is being gifted to the British Legion, the Royal British Legion, where it will hang. And of course, Dame Vera was a patron of the Legion. And I think in these days we have now, the time we have now, with so much uncertainty in the world, it's an ongoing war in Ukraine. The NATO countries are trying not to be pulled into it, but all this means that the world is a dramatic and in many ways tragic place now, and what we need is hope. And what we need is to remember the past and not to do the same errors again as we did before.
To learn from our lesson,
Yeah,
learn the lesson from what's happened.
Learn the lesson from what happened. You know, Churchill once said that those who do not remember the past run the risk of repeating the errors in the future. And I think more than ever we need to remember how we stood together, how we were allied, both in our lives, personally, and also between the countries, and who made us allies like this. And in that sense, Vera Lynn and all the other artists that was part of the ENSA really meant a lot. And I think remembering these people is impossible without monuments or portraits or paintings. We have to remember them in some way. And because of that, the monument you are working on now is so immensely important, because that kind of artwork will be there forever. It will remind us for years to come, for decades to come, why it was so important to be allied and why we had to stand together, and how much these artists meant for us and for the sake, for the cause. So I think I was part of that with the portrait of Vera Lynn, and this monument is absolutely a large part of remembering the past to not do the same errors in the future.
Absolutely.
That's why it's important.
Absolutely. The background noise is elderly Chloe on Ross's lap, and she's loving it. So the slight purring is...
You can show her.
Yes. Thank you so much, Ross. It's always a pleasure to have you here in England with us, and we look forward very much to our visit to the Royal British Legion for the unveiling of the portrait, hopefully later this year. Thank you.
Thank you.